Welcome to Impact Farming, where we introduce you to the people and ideas that will have a massive impact on your farming operation. Brought to you by Farm Marketer. Sit down, start the engine, and let's roll with today's show.
Hello everybody, welcome to today's show. We are live on location at Farm Progress Show 2018 in Regina. Today I have a very special guest with me, Megz Reynolds. Yeah. Welcome.
Thanks.
And I'm going to do also known as Farmer Megz. So anybody on social media, that's how you will know her. So welcome.
Thank you for
Farmer Megz. I have followed you on social media for quite some time, so it's excellent to be able to get to meet you in person. It feels like you know somebody on social media, then you finally meet them. It's really good. So before we dive in and I get Megz to share her story, I'm just going to do a little bit of a brief introduction and then get you to take it away and talk about who you are. So Megz is a passionate advocate. She is a farmer, she's a wife, she's a speaker, and she is a mom to 2 little girls. So Farmer Megz. I would also add on passionate advocate, educator, and ambassador for the industry. So welcome. I know little bits and pieces of your story, and I know you didn't grow up on a farming operation. So how did you end up farming, around farming? How did you end up as Farmer Megz? Please tell.
Okay, well, growing up, I'm from Calgary, Alberta, so I grew up in the city, but my grandpa and my uncle actually had a ranch in southern Alberta near Pincher Creek.
Oh, okay.
So I was around cattle and that side of the industry growing up, but I had no experience, no knowledge, no anything on grain farming. That all happened coming to Saskatchewan.
Okay.
So I always loved being on the farm. I loved my time on the farm. I always wanted to end up on an acreage or maybe on a farm, but I was working in the film industry, and that was what I loved and my passion, and kind of where I saw myself continuing until I ended up at the White Bear Bar during harvest for a friend's birthday party.
I wondered how that came about.
Yeah.
Okay.
And met my husband that night.
So, oh, really?
Yeah. I think there is a population of 12 in White Bear, Saskatchewan now.
Wow. Talk about meant to be then.
Yeah, exactly. Us coming together was that's incredible. So basically, I am now Farmer or Farmer Megz thanks to my husband, because I don't think I ever would have ended up on a grain farm had I not been in that small town bar that evening.
That's excellent.
And yeah, when I first met him, we started dating. I was still working in the film industry, so I was commuting between Vancouver and Saskatchewan, and he was trying to go back and forth when he could. And I was learning, so we were seeding that first year, so I would fly out from Vancouver on a long weekend from a TV show, and I had learned to run the seeder.
Oh, wow.
And then I fly back and go back to film.
Night and day difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then, we got to the point where we were getting serious, and I needed to commit. Obviously, the 4th generation farmer is not going to relocate.
Yep, true.
So I needed to move out there to see if things were going to work, or I guess out here, I should say.
Okay.
And I kind of retired from the film industry and moved out to Kyle, Saskatchewan, and I needed a job out there. Obviously, I wasn't going to be making TV shows or movies. And so I applied at an AGCO dealership in Aston and got a job as an apprentice heavy-duty mechanic.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I seen you working on social media on some equipment, and I said to my husband, I'm like, I think this gal's welding. I'm like, go for it.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so that's the connection. Okay.
So that was actually the one thing I did know about grain farming, is that everything breaks down at some point.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, I might as well learn to fix it, and then I can contribute, to the farm, right? It's a way to save us money if it's something I can do. So
wow.
I loved it. I learned a lot. I mainly worked on combines, and I was there up until our oldest was a bit of a surprise. So that was kind of when I switched gears and became full-time mom and full-time farmer. And if you guys follow me on social media, you've seen that the kids are with us a lot of the time, and I
thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's also a challenge, and part of it is that we're in a small community with no childcare options. So it's also juggling the very, very rural area that we are in.
Okay. Very smart. I know one time, I'm on Twitter, but I don't don't spend tons of time on there, right? But I pop in every once in a while and your videos pop up, and I just think it's so fantastic that you're just owning the tractor, the kids are in there, you're working on machinery. I am all for equal opportunity. I just think it's really cool, so way to go.
Thank you. It's fun. That's the role I wanted, right? Okay. That's how I want to be involved in our farm, and that's what makes me happy. And
well, and that jumps right into my next question. So I know a lot of farmers, I know a lot of people that have come into farm operations, whether female or male, and sometimes it's a very tricky business finding your place in the farm family dynamic. I mean, if there's siblings, there's parents, there could be grandparents, cousins, you name it, and not only different relatives and what they do, but there's often different people that have that job already.
Yeah.
Or I hate to say it, there's also sometimes a little bit of gender specific roles. Okay. And how did you find your place on the farm? Was it easy?
It's, you know, as we started out dating, I was learning to run the equipment, and I like to joke that that was a great time for me to learn to run the equipment because the relationship was still new. So, you know, you're maybe not going to fight about things as much, or get as, you know, you have a little more patience teaching. Exactly.
It might not be the end of the world.
Yeah. My first year, was it first? Yeah, first year seeding, I was going around a gas well, and there's a big fence, and I didn't even get to that point. I saw it coming up in the field, and I called my husband. I'm like, how do I get by it? Like, how do I? And he's like, well, just, you know, like, see where the edge of your cedar is, and just, you know, go around the fence. Like, don't get too close, but you want to get close enough that you're not wasting field, right? So I can talk myself up. I can do this. Pull up, just crank the side of it.
Oh,
so I'm sitting there,
yes.
Crap. And then I realized tractor has reversed. So I reverse out.
Nice.
And I'm phoning him. I'm like, okay, I've done this. This is really embarrassing. I'm gonna leave it. Like, you can deal with this. You can go around it. I'm done. That's shattered my confidence.
Oh yeah, that would be a blow.
Yeah, I got a call from him later, and he's like, I hit it too.
Oh no way. Yeah. Oh, fantastic.
So I was like, yes.
Oh good. Confidence restored.
Yeah. So, you know, coming into the relationship, learning about farming as I went, and enjoying doing that and being in the field. And then I think working at the dealership helped me as well, because I really had a good understanding of how the equipment worked and to work on it. So my first harvest, my father-in-law actually came out, and he's like, how's your combine running? So we were running 2 combines at the time, and said, well, it's good, it's fine. I just unplugged the header, we're good now. And he's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna test it, take it for a drive, see how it's going. And he left me sitting in the field. And then he didn't come back. And so I'm sitting there, I'm like, I don't know what's going on.
Is this some kind of hazing?
Ritual or what? My husband pulls up, and he's like, oh, yeah, he broke down a combine. You need to come fix it.
Oh,
I was like, oh. So there was ways that was, you know, went over well, that I had those skills.
Oh, no doubt.
But it was actually, like how you mentioned the welding, this was the first year, so in almost 6 years, it was the first year that my father-in-law let me do welding on a project.
Really?
Yeah. Because we've always kind of gotten to that stage, and I might have been working on something, but when we get to the welding stage, he always comes in and does it. So
baby steps.
Yeah, that was a big moment. So not everything's been a smooth transition, and I think part of that is also, it's not just me coming in and changing the dynamic. So there's been some bumps along the way for sure, and it's one of those works in progress. So I still think there's ways to improve what we do and how we all function together, but we've definitely come a long way. And the most important thing, or I think that I can say, is communication.
Sure.
Like, if you know what you want to do, it may not be the easiest thing to fit within. Like you said, everybody already has their roles. So just communicate, and don't be pushy about it either, right? It might take, this might be not something that doesn't happen overnight. It might take 5 years to get to a point. But I think with communication, and, you know, if you're passionate about something, that you can get there, and if you're, you know, communicate that you are passionate about it. And to be a healthy, functioning dynamic, whether that's your family or that's your farm, you need to be happy and fulfilled in what you're doing, right? So
very true.
I think it's important that we all strive to.
Very true. And you know, that's a good approach too, because sometimes I can relate. If you're passionate about something, excited, you're coming from a good place and you want to help, but you come in guns a-blazing into an establish, and maybe don't communicate or have that respect, that's not necessarily good either, because then it'll be a bit like that, where baby steps, earned respect and trust is probably a great way to go about. I wondered how that...
And I'm speaking from experience, because I can honestly say I probably did not come in the most sensitive to that dynamic, right?
Why do you think
no, I want to do this.
Why do you think I'm bringing it up? I might relate. Well, and you know, I think we all come from a great place, right? We're excited. We want to be there. It's all fresh. I don't think anybody comes from a bad place. Right. So I'm sure the family forgives you. Okay, good. So, you know, you led right into my next point I wanted to make and question I wanted to ask you. You kind of said you really need to find what you like doing, and you really remind me of my favorite quote. It's by Gary Vaynerchuk. I don't know if you know who he is, but it's absolutely, I would almost say, a bit of my motto for life. And it's short, simple, sweet, and so right. You do you. Yes. And I find so many people, they maybe just live a life they think their parents want them to live, follow a gender-specific role, not even that. They just go, okay, this is what I'm expected to do, I'm going to do it. But I absolutely hate accounting and I'm miserable, but they continue to do it. And I like that you do you. Megz does Megz. And you figured out what works in your operation, what you enjoy doing. Is it a bit of that happy wife, happy life? I fully believe when each person is happy in what they do, it just makes everybody happy, right? So I love, and that's what I caught from you and the videos on social media. I'm like, this gal loves what she does, and there's nothing more contagious than that, right?
For sure.
So, yeah, absolutely. You are a mom, you're a farmer, you do welding on the farm, you have all these different roles. How do you balance it all?
If I told you I was balancing it, I'd be lying.
Okay, I wasn't trying to trap you.
No, maybe my thing is I want to be honest, right?
Yeah, I was hoping you'd say that, because, you know, I'm also you do you, but let's be real. Yeah. Being fake and, oh, I've got it perfect. Nobody has it together. Let's just be real about it. So but at the end of the day, you have the kids, you take them in the tractor, there's the house, there's the farm work, there's a zillion things. You just do your best and work on the priorities?
Yeah, I prioritize, and my priorities are going to be different than somebody else's, and that's fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with you pick what your top things are, and those are important to you. And I'm sure my husband sometimes wishes that my priorities were different, because if there's a stack of dishes, they can sit there.
He's going to be listening to this, but we have this conversation.
Yeah, you know, if there's stuff to do on the farm, there's the garden. I'd rather weed the garden than clean the house. I'd rather shovel pig crap than clean the house, to be quite honest.
That's what I say.
So yeah, I do. And then in the winter I get a bit cooped up, especially this winter with it being so cold. I don't want to be in the house all the time, especially with the girls. And so yeah, I just, you know, try to make it work, and there's just give and takes to everything, right? So my kids aren't in softball this summer because, well, they're 4 and 2.5, and I feel they're too little, but it's also too crazy right now. So that'll be one of those things that as they get older and something becomes their passion, then it'll be easier to balance that time, right?
I agree.
Sometimes during seeding, the tractor may not start running at 6 in the morning. That's because I'm not going to wake my kids up at 6 in the morning. So, you know, there's all these little places that, you know, there's a bit of a scale, and it might slide one way and slide back the other way. And again, it's that, I think, that dynamic. So have your list that needs to get done in your family and your farm family, and try to spread it out so that you do kind of cover those bases. Or if you drop something, hopefully someone's there to pick it up.
And you know, I don't necessarily like the word balance. It's just the word we use. And I'm so happy that you were honest about it, because I don't think being fake helps anybody, right? It just kind of does that social media shame and like, you know, comparing.
We have way too much pressure on ourselves that we put there, I think, especially as a mom. There's that whole thing too, but just that, that image, we want to uphold this image that, why?
What's
it's not real. There's no golden star for you either, right? So.
Totally, and all you do is make yourself more stressed out, and again, happy person, happy life. So I love that you shared that. Going with the balance theme, maybe just managing it all. I know you've recently, not so recently, opened up about stress on the farm and mental wellness. I'm a farmer, you're a farmer. Anybody that farms knows it's hard. It's hard, and nobody gets it. We take on so much financial risk. There's physical risk and there's mental risk. And you know, just when you think you have a day off and you might actually go somewhere, something comes up, calf is sick, whatever it is. And you've shared your experiences, and I always find that it's so amazing when people can open up and say, hey, this is what's going on. If you're feeling this way, just so you know, you're not on your own. So are you comfortable sharing with our audience a little bit about some of the stresses you feel and why you think it's so challenging being a farmer?
So for me, and this could be unique to me with not coming from the farm, but my biggest, I guess, struggle, especially when I first came out, before I really set myself up within the community and made good connections and stuff out there, was isolation. And it didn't have anything to do with being in a community of 400 people or the fact that I didn't have a big city there to go shopping in or any of that, right? It was isolation in the sense that when I tried to talk about my farm stress or what was going on the farm to the friends that I had outside of the ag community, there's that disconnect, right? And they, you know, I don't mean that in a negative towards them, because they're my great friends and they support me and they tried, but they just didn't understand what I was going through. And you know, you can't compare a hailstorm that's just decimated someone's entire crop to that summer you had hail in your garden. Like, it just
and they're trying.
I know, and they are,
but they just don't get it.
And then just like you said, the financial stress and risk is insane, and especially if you get into talking about equipment, like, it's not just the debt load we take out to put a crop in every year, but how many people spend as much money as we do on a piece of equipment or something that they only use for 6 weeks out of a year or 8 weeks, right? Like, that's another part of it, right?
Repair. Talking from experience.
It's so crazy.
Just out of nowhere, right? And you know, I heard you speak about this, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, because again, it's not that people don't try, and I found the same thing with my friends and family. I'm extroverted, so I would love to share and talk, and when we started farming, you want to talk a little bit, but when you're saying this about the operation, and again, they just can't really grasp. And one of the things I found is if I just shared all the stresses on my mind from the farm, financially, mentally, physically, the reality of it, and again, not to be disrespectful, but I think my parents' head would pop off if I told them the investment in the farm, and if something happened to the cattle herd, or for you, if a crop was ruined, nobody quite get, they don't get that, right? That's not good. So, you know, unfortunately, and it's probably not the right way to deal with it, but I felt that too. I just stopped talking about it. And still to this day, you know, if they don't understand and then they try and want to help, and then they just get uncomfortable, I know my farm people that I can talk to. Anthony and I, we chat about it. So I can totally relate to that. And you never really get it until you're a farmer. And again, you don't know much about my background, but I grew up very similar to you. My grandparents had a farm, and I ended up going out to the farm on weekends and summer, and I said when I was a kid, I'm going to grow up and be a beef farmer. That was my goal, and I am. I'm happy about that. Love it. But when you do not grow up on a farm, even myself, I'll speak for myself, you don't fully understand it until you get there.
For sure.
And that's what I found. And we farmed part-time and lived off the farm, and I thought I got it. And then you move to farming full-time. Anthony farms full-time, and I'm a farm marketer. Then you move full-time into farming, and you really grow the herd and buy the land, and all the machinery and the risk just grows. And then it's like, oh, okay, farming is, a little bit different, right? So that I heard you speak about that, and I wanted you to talk about that, because it's natural as humans, as farmers, we don't want to say anything bad, because we go, are we doing something wrong?
When you feel like you're whining.
Yeah.
Like, I honestly, you know, there are a lot of conversations I don't have with my mom because I don't want to feel like I'm whining.
Me too.
You know, this is a life that I chose, so I can't complain about it.
Totally. Yeah. And they even know, they both grew up on farms, and I think maybe at one point they just said, well, you know, Tracy, farming is. Yeah. And I know they never do told you so, but same thing. Yeah, I chose it. I love it. Wouldn't change it for a thing. So I don't need them going, well, you know. Yeah. Which they wouldn't do, but I totally get that. So that's excellent.
I think too, like with the kind of the stress part of the mental health part, we had a couple hard, well, we keep having hard years, but in 2016 we had like 38 inches of rain, and it was a really hard year for us. You know, we had a lot of disease, we had hailstorms, so we had a ton of crop damage. We were having trouble. We thought we were gonna have to burn all of our durum. We had insurance policies that didn't come through the way that we needed them to come through, and all I can say is it's so easy to struggle alone. And what I mean by that is it isn't necessarily that you want to hide from the outside world what you're going through, but I think we try to do that from our spouse. And we do that to try to protect them, right? We want to put it on our shoulders, and we want to say that, okay, I'm not going to have this conversation with him because I don't want to stress him out any more than I know they're so stressed out, right?
Totally.
And for us, it was probably one of the best things we could have done in that time to sit down and have a conversation about how stressed we each were. And to know that I didn't blame him for where we were, and he didn't blame me for where we were, and we needed that conversation because both of us were feeling like we failed our family, we you know, failed each other, and that we were only worth our life insurance policies. And that is a horrible conversation to have, and it's a horrible way to feel, but we felt better moving forward by being able to have that conversation. So even if you don't want to put that feeling, that emotion, what you're going through out there the way that some other people are sharing, have those conversations with your spouse or your partner, because we need to, right? Like we go into this together, we're gonna do this together, but that also involves talking about the hard stuff and supporting each other through that.
Totally. It's so funny you say that. I mean, I can just relate to everything here, and I'm sure everybody listening, all the people around us listening, I'm sure they can all relate. I mean, communication's so simple, right? Why don't we just talk it out? But again, you don't want to stress them out, and beef prices are up and down and crazy, and we had, I mean, we all go through good times and bad times, and I know exactly what you just said. I keep a lot in and on the shoulders, and I didn't want to talk to him because I didn't want him to feel or know that I was worried about it, right? Because he's an amazing guy. He's got it. It's not his fault. So I didn't want any of that coming off as blame. And then finally, same type of dynamic. You just have a good chat, just like any relationship, and then you go, okay, we're in this together. So I get goosebumps when you say that, because you know those are important moments. Just any relationship, farming or not, but especially with the stresses of farming. So I'm so happy you share that. I just love honesty. So thank you. Thanks for sharing. When I speak about you, think about you, I see you as an advocate and an agriculture educator. Is that how you see yourself?
Definitely this past year. I think I've tried to move more into whether it's a post, a blog, which I need to do, I haven't done in a while, or videos. I like videos. I've really tried to kind of change the way I approach it and put out information in the way that I would have understood 7 years ago. So before I came out here, I want to talk in a way that would have made sense to me. So I made a video with showing how my combine works, and I use the analogy that the rotor and the concaves are like the drum of the washing machine to agitate.
I think that was my introduction to Farmer Megz, and it was great. I'm like, who is this girl? This is fantastic.
Because I was like, that makes sense, right? You need to be able to talk about it in a way that, you know, in ag we have all these acronyms and everybody knows what's going on, and we, you know, so we talk that way, but to somebody else it doesn't make any sense, right? So I think it's, you know, it's my passion, and I want to, that was why I got onto social media. I wanted to tell my story and to promote agriculture because it is such an amazing and essential business, right? And so I wanted to try to break outside just talking to other farmers, break outside that bubble, because I think we do a lot of that. We talk amongst ourselves a lot, and I wanted to get past that. Yeah. And that's why I started blogging. Okay. I was in a mom group online as kind of postpartum support and stuff, and they, you know, there was a couple bloggers in there, and they're talking about all these bloggers that they follow, and I was like, mommy bloggers, that's where it's at.
Oh yeah.
So I thought, okay, well, there's a lot of them, you know, mommy bloggers that are putting out the information that is, you know, not accurate, or they're extremely anti-GMO, or what have you, right? There's a whole big spectrum. So anyways, I thought if I can create a blog, and I'll blog about being a mom, and I'll blog about fitness, and I'll blog about my kids, and then I'm gonna, bam, farming. Yeah. And then I'll go back to something else. I'm like, I want to like just kind of lure some people in, with this mommy blog. Yeah. I don't know whether it worked or not, but that was my kind of intention.
It obviously did. You have a few followers, as an understatement.
Mainly farmers. But yeah, just trying to get past that. And I've actually been in talks with Sunwest School Division, which is kind of my area of Saskatchewan, and trying to help them with some agriculture curriculum for high school with videos and stuff. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
You know, anybody in agriculture, anybody listening, watching this, they know, I mean, farmers are 2% of the population, and when you're looking at educating 98% of the world, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and that's a huge feat. And you know, it really needs to start in the schools. And I know there's some great egg in the classroom, some programs like that, and they're doing an amazing job, but anything we can give people will help them form the correct opinion about farming, right? Facts. If you don't know facts, you make up stuff, or you listen to what you hear.
Or I think that's one of, you know, one of the amazing things about the internet is that we can connect, that we can find all this information, but kind of the double-edged sword is that the information that you can easily access isn't always the right information, right? And as someone that grew up in the city that, you know, was freaked out about the spraying that farmers did and thought GMOs were a bad thing, yeah, you're inundated with this information, and all of these articles look great, and they've done their own studies, and they've done, you know, and it's really easy to believe what you want, right? Or to believe what isn't true, and then if you're trying to weed through all that and find the actual information and the science behind sometimes that's challenging, right? And as a consumer, you're left there like, I don't know, like, I don't want to hurt, as a mom, I don't want to like hurt my children, right? Totally. So there's fear in that.
I'm a farmer, and do I know everything about the beef industry? No, there's different parts of the sector that I don't even know about. So I can imagine, I mean, I'm in it and I know my stuff, but now you go to crops, you go to hogs in different sectors. I don't even know everything. Now take somebody that's not even in the industry and expect them to make informed decisions, and very often people have maybe not the best motives in the content they put out. We'll just leave it at that. So it's hard to sort through, right? So has your message, you've opened up a lot, shared the trials, the triumphs, has your message been well received? Has the trolls stayed away?
Most of it. Yeah. Good. Definitely with mental health, kind of the one blog post that I did put out when I finally was like, you know what, I'm struggling, this is a challenging time, and knowing that I wasn't alone, I was actually really surprised. I kind of thought that I would get some negative back from the agricultural community, and I also thought it would kind of be shoved under the rug because, well, let's not talk about it, right?
Yeah, that's tough stuff, right?
And I was really impressed with how it was received, the people that reached out to me, a lot of private messages that, you know, people that I'm where you are right now, I'm going through it, let's talk about it, or I've been there, I made it out, it's going to be okay. Nice. And so just, you know, I think it's one of those things, and sharing isn't for everyone, but for me, writing helps me process, and that's kind of therapeutic for me. So writing and getting it out there helped me, but then also, you know, putting it out there hopefully can help other people, but in doing so, just being able to have those conversations that I wouldn't have had otherwise with other farmers, that also helped me, right?
Yeah.
To know, you know, it always helps to know and to say, yeah, you're not alone, but it's different than to hear that than to have that conversation with that other person that's going through that,
hey,
or that's
here's
been
my
there,
experience,
or
and totally. Talking to a good friend and they've been through something and they can relate, right? And maybe giving a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel, right? A bit of perspective, because they're on that other side. So good. I'm glad your experience has been good with that. So that's excellent. We're gonna work to wrapping the interview up, and I want to ask you my final fun personal question. I'm not digging too deep here. I mean, you're pretty transparent and it's probably all on social media, but can you tell us something about Farmer Megz that our audience, your audience, wouldn't already know?
I guess right now I'm a reformed adrenaline junkie since I'm now Farmer Megz, but in my younger days I was big into snowboarding and sledding and all sorts of things. And
one of my front teeth is actually fake because I had an incident involving a snowboard.
I'm staring.
You did a good job,
It looks perfect. Your teeth are amazing.
But anyways, snowboard a cliff. I ended up biting my own knee.
Oh.
So I broke my own tooth on my knee, and I needed 3 stitches in my knee. So.
Okay. Well, then that's a good tidbit.
That's my
That's the
story.
we don't know about you. Well, that's excellent. Thank you for sharing so much. You're doing fantastic things in the industry. On behalf of myself, the audience, I would like to commend you and thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you for talking to me, Tracy.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Impact Farming. For more great episodes and articles designed to help you manage and grow your farming operation, head on over to farmmarketer.com. Don't forget to sign up while you're there. We will see you on the next episode.